What does the big retirement announcement mean for Pittsburgh Steelers pass catchers? Did one NFC East quarterback just spill the beans on his team's offensive approach in 2026? And what will one rookie tight end do for you in the 2026 campaign? Plus, the three-time FFPC League winner Tom Smith joins us to talk Jared Goff, the Los Angeles Chargers offense, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Bulkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome into the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You can connect with me on X at Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Slowdown, the HSFF Hour, Extra Reps, the Fantasy Football Players Championship, and of course, the FFPC Insider Access Show. My co-host is indeed the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to break down everything you need to know for mid-May ADP and the FFPC Main Event Slow Drafts, as well as the Big Gorilla and the FFPC, not one, but two best ball tournaments that are going on right now. We'll tell you what you need to do with your dynasty leagues, as well as your dynasty startup leagues, if you are participating with those in the FFPC, and so much more tonight. Plus, Tom Smith is going to join us on this program tonight, not only to talk about his big cashes in high-stakes fantasy football over the years. He's going to talk about his league titles in the FFPC, and perhaps most importantly, what he's been doing in his Big Gorilla and FFPC drafts so far this season. Before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that if you are looking for some drafting fun right now, look no further than the FFPC Big Gorilla, a $350 entry fee, $1 million grand prize, 7 bananas, and early Rampage promos going on right now. FFPC Baby Gorilla has a $100,000 grand prize. That's just a $125 entry fee. Same exact format as the Big Gorilla. The Best Ball Tournament and the Superflex Best Ball Tournament both feature 6-figure grand prizes, $400K in the Best Ball Tournament, which is up $100K from a year ago, and $100,000 at just a $35 entry fee in the Superflex Best Ball Tournament. Dynasty and Empire startups, as I mentioned, are going on right now. You can enter for the $100 leagues all the way up to the $5,000 leagues. And the FFPC main event has slow drafts going on right now. The live drafts will kick off in about a week and a half or so. Don't forget, you have 11 days left to take advantage of that FFPC early bird main event promo where you can save $200 off your first team. Go to myffpc.com for more information on that. And if you want to play in chop leagues, just don't be the lowest scoring team each and every week. We got those going on at the FFPC right now. They start at $35 and go up from there. myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. Give you the schedule of what's going on with the FFPC family of podcasts this week, later on in the program. I've waited long enough, ladies and gentlemen. Let me bring in tonight's guest co-host. Not even a guest co-host. He is the permanent. He is the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson. He is the Paul Schaefer to my David Letterman. I'm dating myself here a little bit. He's my Andy Richter to my he's the Andy Richter to my Conan O'Brien. Please welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, Mr. Ferrell Elliott from the KFFSC. Good evening, Ferrell. How's it going? I don't know if you like those analogies at all.
All three of those guys could be interpreted as extra baggage. However, with Ed McMahon, he did get to tell people they could be a winner. That's what I tell everyone that signs up for the KFFSC, Balky. Balky, part of your face tonight is in shade, and part of it is fantastically illuminated, and it gives a real interesting play with the lighting. We're going to have to get on the set design here, Balky, and work out.
Yeah. I know a few people that could hook me up. Lighting is everything when it comes to television and film and everything. So yeah, I need to get on that. How's everything going in your neck of the woods right now as we head into late May, Ferrell? June is going to be here before we know it. It's crazy. Drafting season's going on, and I think some people are still snoozing. They don't realize it's going on yet.
Some people just don't want to draft what they call early, and this is middle drafting is what I would call it. I was teasing with the Dizzle earlier today. I said we should say Aaron Rodgers is signed up, and so should you. So come on and get in and pick your teams. But it's bulky for a man who drafted around the clock at this year's Super Bowl event, the KFFSC. So we I don't know why people want to live without drafting. There's so much value right now to get involved. And there is a good amount of FFPC drafting that I have done. And I like drafting early because the closer I get to the live events, the closer I get to camp opening, the closer we get to the middle days and the dog days of July, the less time I have to enjoy it. So it's really a good thing.
I just I talked to you about the importance of slow drafts, which you obviously recognize. I'm of the opinion that the slow drafts and best ball too in general, that's kind of revolutionized fantasy football, right? Where I can draft in May and I don't have to worry about setting my lineup every week and placing waivers. Yeah, you can do that with the FFPC. You can do it with the KFFSC and slow drafts where you can just operate. I mean, I think my max I've ever done is like 5 at one time, but I know there's people out there at the FFPC grinding out dozens of drafts at the same time, maybe even hundreds, dare I say. So yeah, I mean, whatever you want, there is something for you right now with both the FFPC and the KFFSC.
If at the live event at Planet Hollywood or in Louisville, if you want to come in and draft your first team on the Saturday of the event, that's fine for us too. That's good. But we just don't want you missing out on what everyone seems to be enjoying, which are these early contests.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing to understand too. When you whatever you want to do, you don't have to be a volume drafter to be successful. We've had, I don't know, countless people on this show who have, they've had one entry in the Big Gorilla or one entry in the main event and they win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And some people prefer it that way. Some people like, I can't handle, 2 or 3 teams over the course of a season. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do one and that's it. And that's fine. And it's worked out for some people before, but I will say by and large, the people who come on this show will talk about how close they came. And they're like, if only I would have had one more team. If I only would have had a few more teams. This is not me trying to sell teams. That's not what I do. People who watch the show know I don't do that. But I'm just saying.
Well, they know I do. I do enough for both of us. I do enough for both of us.
But the thing of it is when it comes down to, it's mathematically proven that the more teams you have, the better chance you have to win. I shouldn't say mathematically proven, but it stands to reason that's the case.
And from my experience, and Sean Green drops in here and says, wish you could handle more managed leagues. Managing 2 teams and managing 4 teams is not the same time commitment for the second 2. The more teams you manage, the more you can anticipate free agency. You go down to look at list of free agents and you say, what's this guy doing here? He's not in anything else. And so now you move quicker through those. And I love it because after you get through the first couple of leagues, now you're in 5th gear and you're racing, baby. And that's a good thing.
I just look at it from the standpoint, and this is the last thing I'll say on it. Like fantasy football is fun. And me, who has been playing fantasy football now for over 30 years, the more teams I have, the more fun I've had. Now, maybe that's not the case for everybody, but I think chances are if you're watching this show or listening to this show, it's probably the case for you. So check it out, myffpc.com, kffsc.com.
And as we broke down the schedule from last week, and you did a great job on your Thursday night show as the schedule was being released, we find more and more ways and more opportunities to be engaged with the NFL, which makes having more teams even more enjoyable. So it's a great schedule that we're coming into this year. It's it's exciting stuff with a Valentine's Day Super Bowl ball.
Right. Yes, exactly. Which my wife has already kissed me goodbye. Which I'm very thankful.
You're with.
Yeah, she might. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know I'll be in Kentucky drafting teams, which is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Farrell, let me ask you a weird question here tonight, and I'm going to preface it by giving you this Paul Gutierrez report, who covers the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes, good
Clint Kubiak, the new head coach for the Raiders, called Brock Bowers a, quote, football robot from heaven. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it's a good thing, right? Clint Kubiak thinks very highly of Brock Bowers, and why wouldn't he? Because he is part of the organization that drafted basically nothing and added only Jalen Naylor as far as a difference maker. And I don't even know if he's a difference maker at wide receiver in free agency. It's Trey Tucker, it's Jack Besh, and not a whole lot else. The question is this, Ferrell. Brock Bowers, according to Fantasy Mojo, Darren Armani runs fantasymojo.com. Get a subscription. If you're an FFPC player, you'll be better off for it. Godfather of the Pros vs. Joe's Challenge as well. Mm-hmm. He lists Brock Bowers as tight end 2 at the same ADP as tight end 1 with Trey McBride at the 109. Are we too low in the FFPC? Are FFPC players too low on Brock Bowers, given that seemingly everything that's come out of Las Vegas from the end of the season to free agency to the draft has all been super positive on Bowers? This is a player, I know Dizzle, who's watching in the YouTube chat right now. He said after Bowers' rookie season, he thought Bowers might be the 101 in redraft leagues. Mm-hmm. And we did see Bowers go as the 101 in a few FFPC leagues. Now, with all this positivity, knowing he's coming off a bad year, knowing his ADP is depressed, 109, doesn't that seem low for Bowers? Should FFPC players be drafting Bowers higher than the 109 at the moment?
Probably so, and they probably will, especially when you get to you're drafting X amount of teams and you see what your draft slots have been assigned, and you realize, hey, look, if I'm going to have Bowers, I'm going to have to take him here because I won't get him. And so, yeah, he'll push up the boards. When you walk around and talk to the Raider players, visit with some of them after a game, if you ask, the one thing they all agree on, if you ask them to say anything about Bowers, they will tell you that that's the best football player I've ever met. And we're talking about guys that have met a lot of football players. So, with that kind of blessing, off you go. And yes, now the Raiders are going to make some moves at wide receiver. It's a bit puzzling because this was a great year for wide receivers. Even amongst undrafted free agents, you could find talent to bring in, and some of those receivers may rise if you look deep into the depth chart. But I think we're going to see some June 1st veterans. I think they're also going to dip into the UFL. An old name fantasy players are familiar with. KJ Hamler is having a very good year. Looks like he's got his explosion back and playing well. There'll be some numbers of the changes of veteran wide receivers with this team, but yeah, a lot of this offense is going to run through Bowers.
And we bring up, and I know you probably didn't say everybody, but think about some of these free agent wide receivers that are still out there with Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel. I feel like we've been talking about it for months on this show, but yet they're still unsigned. So there is something to be said for that. The great thing about those receivers, though, Ferrell, is they're not going to eat into Bowers. I mean, if they were difference makers, somebody would have signed him now. Bowers is a difference maker, and Clint Kubiak says he's a football robot from heaven, which is going to be the team name of a lot of FFPC and KFFSC team names. All right, KFFSC.
You tell him what to do, and he does it. It's like a programmable robot. Maybe that's
what it is. Super coachable, super talented. What's not to like about Brock Bowers? Flipping to the other side of the age spectrum, we found out from Nick Farabaugh today, Ferrell, that Aaron Rodgers has said this is it. The 2026 campaign will be his last year in the NFL. He's not going to be stringing anybody along next season. He said this is it, which is, I think, kind of nice for him, kind of nice for his fans, kind of nice for the Steelers, knowing what they're walking into in 2027. Rodgers is going to have the opportunity now to throw to DK Metcalf for a second season. He gets Michael Pittman. He gets Jeremy Bernard in the draft. Pat Freiermuth, who I think is underrated in a lot of FFPC drafts right now, is added onto this team, as well as Dowdle to the Jalen Warren backfield, and something named a Caleb Johnson is still in that backfield as well. My question to you is, now that we know that Rodgers is there, we know it's not Drew Aller, Will Howard, or God forbid Mason Rudolph under center in week 1. It will be Rodgers. How much are you bumping up these Steelers pass catchers this season? It's very, very difficult for me to say, oh, this is great for Metcalf, given that last season with Rodgers was terrible for DK Metcalf. But I am curious about the unknowns. What does this do for Bernard? What does this do for Michael Pittman? Knowing that these guys have never caught passes from Rodgers before, how should we be handling them in our drafts at the moment?
Rodgers throws a pretty good ball. It's easy enough to catch, Balky. There was also elements of that article that said, what do we have to look for as fantasy players? And I think, this was not a good team last year. And some of the guys come on the show and they talk about, well, all he did was throw the ball to Gainwell. Well, that's better than taking a sack. He was in a lot of situations where, he's got to get rid of the ball. And you can look at highlights of what he did last year, and all of those names of players that you spoke of had some standout games and solid performances. Now, you take a look at what he did last year. The team was 10-6. So he found a way to win. He threw 24 touchdowns and 7 picks. He threw more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. He threw more than Hurts. He threw more than Purdy. He's – and this is a better team. 7 interceptions was you don't throw a lot of interceptions when you're not throwing the ball downfield, but I think he can still sling it. I think there's a spin on that ball that gets out of his hand and gets down the field to receivers like Metcalf. The more that he can be protected, the better the line plays, the better the running game. I think you've got a chance for many of these players to have standout seasons. And Rodgers, who's essentially undrafted, even though we all knew he was coming back, but he'll remain undrafted now that we know he's coming back. That's my prediction. And there's some matchups through a managed season of fantasy football that you would like to have Rodgers as your quarterback.
Before you say he is back and he shouldn't be undrafted, I will say this. In a KFFSC Basketball Championship League that I am in, Ferrell, I ended up taking Rodgers upon this news as my third quarterback in that league, and I feel pretty good about it. I feel like if I was in a managed league, that I probably would stay away from him. But as a third quarterback in a best ball, I feel pretty good about that. The two guys, and we won't get into it because I tonight at least, because our guest is coming up here. But I think I've said this already before, but the two guys I like on Pittsburgh this year, as far as Rodgers being back, is Michael Pittman and Pat Freiermuth. I think both those guys are in for some significantly solid seasons, given their ADP right now in the FFPC Big Gorilla, as you always like to say. Right now, you can get Pittman as wide receiver 43 in the mid-9th round, and you can get Freiermuth, again, tight end premium, tight end 30 in the 17th round. I think both of those guys are going to crazily outperform their ADPs there. All right, I want to get into this, Ferrell, and I'm going to give you an analogy after this. And Tom Smith is coming up. I promise. He's enjoying.
Love the Tom Smith
in the green room right now, but we're going to bring him out in a little bit. The New York Post had an article today with some Jackson Darts quotes, and basically Darts in this town hall with Giants fans and media, whatever. He said this about the offense this year, quote, "It sounds like we're not going to be throwing the ball a lot. We're going to keep giving it to Cam Scadaboo until they can stop it." And Scadaboo obviously coming off the surgically repaired ankle, which was a really nasty injury, blah, blah, blah. Here's the analogy I'm going to give you. And I love to talk about my high school athletics days. Like when
those glory days, sir.
Glory days. My senior year of my baseball team that year, we lost a lot of seniors the year before. At least one of them got drafted. I know that in the Major League Baseball draft. And our coach came together and told us before the start of the season, hey, the newspaper, the radio stations, they're asking me about this squad. And I say, it's kind of a reloading year, rebuilding year. You know, we're going to muddle our way through it, but I feel good about these guys. Mm-hmm. He told us this, but then he also told us, like, I don't believe that at all. I believe that you guys are just as good as last year's team. I think we're going to make a run for the conference title. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we did. Now, we didn't win it, but we did take second, based, and a lot of people didn't think we were going to do that. I'm equating this to what this quote is from Jackson Dart here. I wonder if this is one of those things that you say, like, yeah, we're going to run the ball. My new head coach is old school and John Harbaugh. We got Scadaboo. We got Tracy. Neighbors is coming off this knee injury or whatever. We just want to run the ball, play defense. We got all this great pass rushers, and we'll see what happens. Kind of like an aw shucks. This is what we're going to do. And I wonder if secretly Harbaugh's like, no, we're going to light up the Commanders. We're going to light up. We're going to torch the Cowboys this year. I wonder if he's privately said, because I don't understand why Dart would come out and say this unless he's just, maybe I shouldn't be reading between the lines on this. Maybe this is just, this is what we're going to do this year. I don't know what to think off this, but Ferrell, knowing that the talent that Dart has and knowing the significant injury that Scadaboo is coming off of and knowing that they did not get Jeremiah Smith and they did not get Kenneth Walker and they did not add any significant pieces to this backfield, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm putting a whole lot of stock into this. I think that this could still be a big year for Dart, airing it out not only to Neighbors, but guys like Malachi Fields, guys like Isaiah Likely, and the like. And quite frankly, Tracy and Scadaboo as well.
Well, yes, you made the point, and I think what would be left to say is, that Mr. Dart might not be in charge of the playbook,
right?
Just at any point in time. I wonder what the old leathery coach, the legend Mike Brown of his Cleveland Browns, who's none of the players like playing for him. I wonder what he would have had to say about a commentary like that so many years ago. But that should be a guy that you should. That should be a guy, Balky, that you should add to your invitation list. We need you to go back and watch some Paul Brown things, and you could just because he would say something like, "Mr. Dart is not in charge of the playbook," and then he would just stare at you like he wants to shoot you. That would be, and that's kind of what it is. But you're right; they have so much talent at the wide receivers position, especially with the addition of Likely, who I believe is a slot receiver in this offense. They're going to play a lot of tight end personnel, maybe 12, maybe sometimes 13, and that will lead itself to a running game if they can get mismatches. It's a good group with the New York Giants. You're never going to go wrong in fantasy football drafting talented players, and these guys will work it out.
They will. They should. And
no matter what the young quarterback has to say in May. So that's
we will have more Giants conversation for those of you who can't get enough of it coming up not only later on in this show, but on Friday night. I'll announce who our guest is going to be on that show here before we bid you adieu tonight. Before we bid you adieu, my God, this guy's been so patient. Let's bring him in now. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a 3-time champion in FFPC leagues, a multi-time team champion in KFFSC leagues. It was not that long ago, 3 years ago, in fact, that he won $75K in RT Sports playing over there. He also won a $10,000 prize about 8 years ago with RT Sports as well. He's been to the mountaintop before, and he's looking to get to the mountaintop in the FFPC Big Gorilla this season, the KFFSC Mountaintop Main Event this season as well. You connect with him on the X at FinzFan13. That's FinzFan13. Please welcome onto the program the incomparable Tom Smith. Tom, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you.
Tom Smith, you've got basketball on in the background. You're going to have to turn that off because it's going to violate our rights. It's a violation already of my principles, but it's going to violate our media rights, you're going to have to turn that TV off in the background.
So Tom, I'll pitch this to you. We had Sean Green on last Friday on Extra Reps on these here airwaves, and I looked at your X feed. You guys are kind of going back and forth because he's a Michigan guy and you're a UConn guy for the national championship. Kind of a fun ride for both teams this season. I didn't realize. So you're in California, but you love the Dolphins and you love UConn basketball as well.
Well, I was born in Connecticut. So, but yeah, Sean's Michigan team was just a little bit better than UConn, and they had a good run, but we fell a little bit short.
It happens. And the great thing about it is that team is so good. They're going to be loaded for bear next year as well. So a couple of things to lead things off before we get to the fantasy football portion, Tom. Number one, when you're not winning all these leagues and drafting all these teams, what are you doing for a living, sir?
I actually work at a hospital / skilled nursing home for San Diego County.
He's taking care of the people, Balky.
Yes, he is. Yes. And the other thing I have to ask you, you and I shared a cab or an Uber, I should say, leaving Louisville last August to go to the airport after we drafted KFFSC. And one of the the dominant portion of I shouldn't say the dominant, but one of the things we talked about a lot was this upcoming surgery you were going to be having. How's the surgery recovery going?
I had surgery back in September. I had a torn rotator cuff and a torn bicep. So I had that surgery shortly after coming back from Kentucky and was out for 6 months. And I think it was first part of March I returned to work. So yeah, it was a pretty significant surgery I had.
And we were very impressed that while you were in Kentucky, Tom, you were playing injured. You know, I pointed that out to everybody. I said, Tom Smith is playing injured, but he's hanging in there and he's drafting fantastically. And it is, you know, you're going to draft. If you're anything like me, you're going to draft Jared Goff. He's got a new offensive coordinator that has been a bit polarizing from time to time. Dan Campbell will no longer be calling the plays. Drew Petzing takes over. I have long stated on the show that you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Jared Goff when he's playing at home. That's your quarterback. You know, it's hard to beat a guy like that. Do you think that will continue to be a mantra that I can sell to fantasy players? And, you know, do you feel that – I don't know how Goff's game can be improved, but I don't think he takes a step back with this OC. Have you got any insights on it you wish to share?
Well, the only thing I know about the new OC is he came from Arizona. I think I have Goff in probably 5 or so leagues, but I'm pretty sure he's my backup. So I think he's probably a safe backup. I don't know. I don't know if he would be a quality starter. I mean, like you said, at home, he's pretty darn good. So I don't really know too much about the new offensive coordinator that they have, other than he's from Arizona.
Yeah, let's do it.
I will say this too, regarding Petzing. There's a lot of people that were down on him. Yeah. You know, coming off the year in Arizona. Brett Whitefield, who is a massive Detroit Lions fan, he is with film analyst for Fantasy Points. I don't know if there's any, and like I really respect what Brett says. I don't know if there's anybody higher on the Petzing hire for Detroit than he is. Like, he is really in on the Lions this year with Petzing calling the plays, coming off the year with John Morton getting relieved of those duties halfway through the season, with Dan Campbell kind of taking over. He thinks Petzing's going to be great for St. Brown, for Williams, for Goff, for Gibbs, all those guys there. Laporta's another guy. So I'm with you, Tom. I don't know a ton about him, but I know smart people, at least one smart person, is really thinking this is a home run hire for Detroit. And the other thing about Detroit this year, they get the 4th place schedule in the NFC North after finishing last place last year. The Lions get a 4th place schedule this year. This could be great things for Detroit.
That's very good, Balky. You know, and I thought, guys, that really, if Coach Campbell had to call plays again, he might be engaged professionally with Tom, needing some care, because I don't think he could. Through that season, he was going to be in some bad shape, man. That job just was not for him, not for Coach Campbell.
No, probably not. Speaking of the Lions, Tom, Tesla is probably a good late dart throw in drafts this year too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think I've drafted him several times. Yeah.
I just look at it from the standpoint of like every other catch, it seems like with him is a touchdown. And Ferrell, I mentioned this to you about a month or so ago. If Laporta's back can't get right, I think it's just easy to just put Tesla out there in a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. If God forbid anything happens to ARSB or Jamison Williams, Whiskey Bill, you have Tesla who can come in and play either of those positions. So yeah, I'm with Tom on this. I think as far as late round dart throws,
because Tesla, he's probably going fairly late in drafts, isn't he?
Yes.
100% he is. Right now, I'm looking at the mojo on him in the FFPC Big Gorilla. Tom, wide receiver 70 at the 1701.
Wow.
So,
yeah. So I mean, it's
and guys, I didn't quite understand why when I was drafting my dynasty drafts recently that he's available. He was almost available in every dynasty draft, and you could get him late, 5, 6, 7, and I did so. And I was thrilled, and I'd be equally thrilled to take him in main events this year.
Yeah, I'll take him unless Steve G takes him before me.
Steve G's always going to be, everybody. It's like Steve G should come to the draft dressed as a pirate. Any kind of pirate. He could be a 1700s pirate. He could be a modern day pirate. Everybody complains, yeah, he got all my players. Well, they weren't your players because they were available. Now they're his players. They never were your players. You need to draft. That's a whole nother conversation.
The conversation continues in the NFC North here, Tom. I think about the hot streak that Caleb Williams, Burden, Colston Loveland went on, not only at the end of the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. This past campaign. When you look at Caleb Williams ADP, and I'm going to tell you right now, again, we're looking at, I was on Baby Gorilla. I'm going to look up Big Gorilla right now. Sorry about that. I'm on Big Gorilla right now. If we look at quarterbacks in the Big Gorilla over the last week and a half, we see that Caleb Williams has ascended to QB7. He has moved ahead of Prescott. He's moved ahead of Herbert. He's moved ahead of Dart. He's moved ahead of Lawrence. And he is breathing down the neck of Jalen Hurts, who has an ADP of 901. Caleb Williams at the 904 right now. Tom, do you think that FFPC players are maybe going a little too hard on Caleb Williams right now? Should we be letting him slip a little bit further, knowing that recency bias has plagued us as fantasy owners? Basically,
so he's going in front of all those guys you just mentioned?
Yeah. What about him?
I would probably take Prescott over Williams, but I mean, 9th round is, I think, pretty good value for him. I really do.
So you would still take Williams except for Prescott, you said. I think that's what you said.
Who did you say?
So we had
Lawrence?
So these are the other guys. It's Trevor Lawrence, Jackson Dart, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, all behind Caleb Williams right now.
Man, that's close, real close. Maybe take Lawrence before him. And
I would.
Dak.
Yeah, Prescott makes some sense too.
Yeah,
ahead of him. Where do you land in on? I mean, I guess it's kind of moot because you can get Mahomes a couple rounds later. But who do you think has the better season this year, Caleb Williams or Patrick Mahomes, Tom?
I think it all depends on Mahomes' health.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see Williams having a better year than Mahomes.
Last year we did in our previous conversation, we see Rodgers maybe having a better year than Mahomes. But I think Mahomes brings it. I hope Mahomes is in that roster.
Well, good.
In that lineup on week 1. And Sean Green points out Lawrence really came on late. And, I mean, we love the late closers from the previous season. We don't want to draft last year's team, but if we're going to look long and hard at last year, how they closed means a lot to me.
I mean, Jackson Dart may not have Neighbors to start the season.
Yeah. Well, and if they do, according to Jackson Dart, they'll be playing neighbors at running back. Now, let's go on. Dateline Chargers. Just up the road from you, Tom. Shed us a little light on this, because I am high on this player. I like the long and lean 6'2" Trey Harris. I liked him when he played in college at Ole Miss. I was thrilled to see that they drafted him, and he had a solid year last year, 30 catches. Keenan Allen moves on, or so we think, which is the sub side of this question. Balky is already registered Keenan Allen at the Social Security office. He thinks he's done. I, on the other hand, think that Keenan Allen is going to service and maybe surface with the Chargers. Your thoughts on Trey Harris? Take Keenan Allen out of the situation. They're 6'2" veteran receiver who caught 81 balls last year. That's why I don't think he's finished. The Gadsden is in the offense. How do you see it? And give us some of that California insight on your Chargers there.
I kind of like him too. I don't. What's his name?
The other receiver, Gadsden, the tight end.
I mean,
Well,
is he
Quentin
capable
Johnson,
of overtaking him this year? I mean, Johnson was up and down pretty much last year too. So, I mean, with McDaniels as their new OC, is he going to throw the ball more?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
he just came out there to torture you from, he's from your ex-Dolphin. He's just out there to torture you.
I mean, Harris is probably getting drafted 12th, 13th round, I would think.
I don't even think it's that high right now.
Or lower.
Yeah, I think it's lower.
So if you could get him as your maybe fifth receiver, I think that would probably make some sense.
Mm-hmm. Who do you like better, Harris or Johnson?
Well, since I've taken Harris a few times, probably Harris.
Mm-hmm. They've been such value that in some early drafts, I took them both.
Yeah.
Harris is wide receiver 68 in the Big Gorilla right now in the 16th round.
Wow.
Which is, it's pretty late. It's after Boston and Bell, the rookies, and then Travis Hunter. Then you see Trey Harris go, and then ahead of free agents, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and then Trey Tucker, of course, going after him as well. The Dizzle pointing out right now, Mike McDaniels runs 46% of his offense with 3 wide receiver sets, which does help Ladd McConkey quite a bit. So interesting to be pointing that out here when we consider the Chargers. And I'll be honest with you, like, didn't Johnston get his 5th-year option declined, or am I making that up in my head? I thought he got it declined by the Chargers, Ferrell.
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I think he's back with the Chargers, though.
He what? I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I think he's back with the Chargers.
He is 100%. I'm just wondering how he features into their future plans.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think maybe they don't know yet either. So Harris versus Johnston is something that we'll try to get right throughout the season. Tom Smith on the Trey Harris side of that equation. I haven't made up my mind yet. But we'll see what happens. Hey, speaking of West Coast wide receivers that are somewhat polarizing, let's talk Rashid Shaheed here, Tom, a player that I think that we were all kind of excited to see what he was going to do after the Seahawks traded for him at the trade deadline in 2025. And then they go out and win the Super Bowl. But I think most people would say it wasn't because of Shaheed. It was because of JSN. It was because of KW3. It was because of Sam Darnold. Like the plays that he made were few and far between, especially for fantasy owners in the FFPC. And yet, what did the Seahawks go out and do? They went out and extended him. They paid Shaheed. He's back with the team, maybe putting Cooper Kupp to the wayside, maybe putting Torrey Horton to the wayside, maybe putting over all the tight ends they have on that roster to the side as well. When you consider everything that's happened with Rashid Shaheed over the last 7 months, we'll say, with the Seahawks, what kind of a year are you expecting from Shaheed in 2026?
He could be their number 2, because what's his name? Cup didn't really do too well last year, so he could have a halfway decent season. I think maybe move into that number 2 role.
He's a fantastic, explosive ball player that a well-balanced team doesn't have to employ that often. But I think he's also proven that he's improved as a route runner. I think he can be a more frequent contributor to the offense, but teams might like his home run potential, and they might like to play him that way. He's an intriguing player, and I think
he's probably going. He's drafts too.
He's the best ball darling of the Seattle Seahawks, and then the redrafters, you're going to figure that out. You're going to have to figure out and know when to play him.
So I think he could possibly maybe end up with that number 2 spot.
It doesn't matter in Baltimore who the number 2 running back is, because Derrick Henry's the number 1 running back. And I don't think he will ever, until he decides that he's had it with football, I don't think he will ever have much of a regression of talent or capabilities. He plays through nagging injuries. He seems to gain strength as the game continues.
Yep.
He pays more attention to his body and to his physical care than any player in the NFL and maybe history of the league. He just doesn't give it lip service. He really works it. So here we are again. Today is May 20th. Is that right, Balky? Write it down. It's should we be drafting Derrick Henry because are we concerned about his age and his workload and his history? I sure the hell am not, Tom. What about you?
Nope, not one bit.
Matter of fact, that head coach
crush it again this year.
That head coach leaves this team, and that's got to be the thing that he hates the most about leaving.
Even though he doesn't catch a lot of passes, he's something else.
He's an alien, and I think that's the best way to describe him, because stuff that should have shut him down, or stuff that should have slowed him down over the last few years, it just simply hasn't happened. We're not even talking about, or at least, guys, I have not read anything or heard anything from any of the people I respect in the industry or FFPC players or what have you. I haven't heard anybody saying, you know what, the last part of last season, he seemed to slow down a little bit. And you started seeing, like, we've heard that argument with
every year.
Well, no, but my point is, like, I don't know if I've ever heard that argument with Derrick Henry. I don't know if anybody's ever said, like, I think he was slowing down last year. The question is always, like, is this going to be the coming year where he falls off the cliff, right? And I've heard the whole, like I've heard it with Josh Jacobs, right? I've heard it with Travis Kelce. I've heard it with Devontae Adams. All these aging all-pro guys, and granted, not all of those are running backs, but I've heard, plenty of people say, I don't know, I started to see the beginning of the end last year. Nobody said that about Derrick Henry. So why wouldn't you still take him high, as you have been, Tom? Derrick Henry right now, running back 13 at the 301, seems like a good price to me.
Yeah, he seems like he's made out of a different mold.
Yeah. Adamantium. Whatever they made Wolverines, whatever they coated Wolverine's skeleton with, I think that's what Derrick Henry's body is actually made out of.
Hey, speaking of another Derrick that we absolutely love, Derek Greer's chiming in, and if you roll back his commentary about Seattle receivers is spot on. The player Horton, Torrey Horton, 13 catches last year, but 5 of them for touchdowns. You have to respect that this player might be Balky, can you say anything about where he's being drafted, if at all?
Yeah, I definitely can. And again, the ADP I'm citing tonight, you can go on Fantasy Mojo and sort by contest, whatever you want. I always use the Big Gorilla. He's wide receiver 77 at the 1801 and not being drafted in a whole lot of drafts. So this is a guy that sometimes goes undrafted. but he's a guy that you can always get late for sure in regards to Horton. And oh, by the way, as long as we're talking about Derek Greer, we were talking about QJ earlier. Derek points out that the Chargers did indeed exercise the 5th-year option of Quentin Johnston 3 weeks ago in late April. So good to know on the Quentin Johnston tip. Okay, we talked Derrick Henry. Tom, let's keep it on the running back tip. Ashton Jeanty, there are plenty of people, myself included, that are buying in to an Ashton Jeanty bounce back. And I say bounce back, I'm going to put it in quotes, because I think if you look at his stats last year, they weren't all that, like when you consider everything going on with the Raiders and that offensive line and the team itself, like the numbers themselves were not all that bad. And I'm talking about catches, total yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, like everything. Like it wasn't all that bad. Maybe it's the joke's on us because we had too high of expectations for Jeanty this past year. But now you look at him, and the best part about not failing to meet expectations is how good your ADP is going to be the following year. Now he has been rising, Tom. He's running back 5 in the Big Gorilla. He's now going in the first round, the end of the first round, 111 on average. He is going right ahead as far as running backs go. James Cook, Devon Achane, and you have Jeanty going at the 111 right now. How much are you buying into a quote unquote bounce back year for Jeanty, and whether he's worth that late first round draft capital right now?
I agree with you, Balky. I think he's going to improve. It seems like the Raiders improved their offensive line a little bit, and I think one of your former guests said that I could be wrong, but did he finish like 10th in points last year at running back, something like that?
He may have. I'm going to look that up right now.
So I think he's going at 11, huh?
111.
That's probably right around where Hampton's going too. So that's probably about the right spot for him.
Hampton's actually, for what it's worth, Tom, Hampton's going as running back 10 at the 206. So he's about a half round later.
Most of my Big Gorilla drafts were earlier, so I think I got Jeanty a lot, like in the second round in those drafts.
Yeah.
But end of the first round is probably a fair price for him, I think. Right around, what did you say, Achane and who else?
It was James Cook, I think.
Yeah, I really like Cook this year. So, but yeah, I think he's at a fair price at the 11 spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think you want to let that player slip very far. And here we are talking about Raiders that won 3 games last year. Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but we want 2 of their players in the first round. So how interesting that could be. Hey, talking about a player that's slipping maybe a little too far in drafts. I really admire this. I really admire this player for a lot of reasons. That's Chase Brown. Tom, what are you doing with Chase Brown?
I love him this year.
Say it again.
I love Chase Brown.
There you go. Me too.
My 2 top running backs are Cook and Brown. So, I mean, I want to get as many shares of him as I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tom, what do you think it is, like, in regards to Chase Brown? He's running back 8 at the 204, and I understand that's significant draft capital. He's going ahead of Barkley. He's going ahead of Hampton. He's going ahead of Kenneth Walker. But when you consider that all they have behind him on that roster is Samaje Perine and Taj Brooks. They did nothing in the draft. They did nothing in free agency. And now we're going to get Joe Burrow for a full season. I mean, and if you say, okay, well, the defense is a lot better this year, so they won't be having to get in all these shootouts. If that's the case, shouldn't that mean more running from Chase Brown? Shouldn't that mean more volume from Chase Brown? And yet people are drafting him at the 204. I guess I'm preaching to the converted here. You're taking him at that spot in Big Gorilla drafts, KFFSC, what have you. But maybe he should be even going higher than the 204 right now.
Yeah. Who did you say he was getting drafted next to?
He is right ahead of Barkley, Hampton, and Walker. He is behind Cook and Achane.
Yeah, see, I like Barkley too. So, but I think I would take Chase Brown ahead of Barkley. But yeah, I'm really high on Brown this year.
I'd like it, like, if I do 50 drafts, I'll take Brown in 25 and Barkley in 25. I don't feel strongly about either. I like them both this year, as you do. And I just look at it now. I love Hampton, who's going right next to Brown and Barkley as well. So those three running backs, I do like all three of those guys better than Walker this year for sure. So there is a lot to love, especially if you are drafting, in sort of like that 108, 109 spot in the FFPC. And maybe you take a wide receiver there and you lock up St. Brown, or maybe Smith and Jigba falls through, or maybe you want to go elite tight end and you take Bowers or whatever there. Certainly to have that glut of running backs staring you in the face in the second round in Brown.
Well, the way running backs are going in these early drafts, you want to probably get one stud running back in the first 2 rounds, because people are just drafting them like crazy.
Yeah. It's the rise of the running back. This is 2 years in a row
Yep.
that running backs basically stayed healthy for the most part last season, and people are buying into it this year for sure. I want to get to a couple of emails here for you, Tom. I know we're running out of time, but we got time to get to this.
Yeah, we got time.
Let's go to Eagleville, Pennsylvania, Tom. Chad writes us from there and says, how high are you on Jake Tonjes this season with George Kittle coming off of that Achilles injury? Thanks, Tom. That is Chad in Eagleville, Pennsylvania. Chad, we appreciate the email. Tonjes is a player that I know if you are not a believer in a 30-plus-year-old tight end coming off a significant lower leg injury, you probably should be a fan of Jake Tonjes. How much of a fan are you, Tom Smith, of Jake Tonjes?
I'm a fan of him, especially he's going late too, so you could get him as like your third tight end. So, I mean, and he's probably going to start the season. So, and I don't know what his stats were last year, but I think he had some decent games filling in for Kittle. So, yeah, he's
30 catches, 30 plus catches, 5 touchdowns, and good starts.
Yeah, so I mean,
he's a California kid, was a California Bear. Hails from our town. Tom and Balky hails from the same hometown as our beloved Drew Maselli, Los Gatos. And I think that's a very good draft plan to have. If you can afford, if you're going to have Kittle, or maybe even if you don't, is to have this player in waiting, because I love Kittle as a player, but his fantasy availability it takes a hit in his draft position. Boggy, Kittle's pretty deep in the draft order, is he not, or am I wrong about that?
Well, I'll just tell you, Tonjes is tight end 28 at the 15-10 in the Big Gorilla right now. George Kittle is obviously as low as he's been in quite some time because of the injury, but he's tight end 9 at the 707. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be in business at that price. Consider this guy.
Not.
When you look at Tonjes last season, I'm just going to roll these without context. I know there's probably multi-layered stuff going on in this, but these are the facts. This is what he did last season. Tonjes had games of 7 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown against the Rams. He had 6 catches for 58 yards against the Buccaneers. He had 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown against the Bears in the playoffs, in the wild card against the Seahawks. He had 5 catches for 59 yards. Dude had 5 touchdowns last year too, which I know is not the stickiest stat, but the fact that this guy put that up over the course of an entire season when Kittle was healthy for a lot of it, maybe even the majority of it. I don't know. I think there's something here. And when we're starving for tight ends in tight end premium leagues like the FFPC, I think there's something to be said for Tonjes.
I think it seems like Purdy likes him. So,
yes.
I mean, getting him in the 15th round is like, that's a good pick.
And Sean Green chiming in. I think Kittle starts on PUP potentially.
Yeah.
We are in the season of positivity. So when we consider everything that we're hearing right now, nobody's going to come out and say, Yeah, it's looking real bad for him. We don't know if he's coming back this year. That's what we should be hearing about Charbonnet. Nobody's saying that about Zach Charbonnet. Nobody's talking about anything about Patty Mahomes unless it involves coming back week 1. Everybody's talking about what a warrior George Kittle is and how special he is. Everybody's talking about the positive stuff right now. So anytime you hear a negative right now, it should be setting off alarm bells. Yeah. We talked about Malik Neighbors earlier. I think that's an alarm bell worthy news report that we're getting on him right now. But this other stuff with all this super positive, I don't know how much we can take it to heart. Because I think everybody's going to be positive right now.
Sure.
They don't have to not be positive. Mm-hmm. You can say whatever the hell you want. You're not beholden to any injury report or anything like that. So yeah. Long story short, I'm with Tom on Tonjes right now as a late round pick. Another email here, Chuck in Lawrence, Kansas. Tom, what should I expect from Kenyon Sadiq in his rookie year in New York? Tom, I'll let you fire away on Sadiq. Who was drafted by the Jets in the mid-first round this year. I'm more excited about the Jets in 2027. I think they still need a quarterback on that roster. I don't know if they have a good one yet. But we have to answer the question. Sadiq in his rookie year with Geno Smith throwing him the football.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't get to watch a lot of college football with my work schedule, but I know he had a really good year. I don't know if that's the best landing spot for him. So, and didn't they draft a tight end last year too?
Yep, Mason Taylor.
So I know I have a few shares of him because of his talent, but I'm really not sure what to expect from him playing on the Jets.
Tom, it was a collective groan when the Jets drafted.
Yep, nobody liked
it. The groan. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
I hope he does well, but
so do the Jets.
Yeah, so
Tom Balky's running the positive, and we love your positivity. I want you to bring that good San Diego sunshine positivity and tell me one player that you got to have on your roster, and then I want you to turn a little dark, kind of like when you're in Kentucky on Sunday and you've got a flight to make. And I won't find you a ride to the airport. And, it's just a little dark. And, tell somebody you're not going to have not anything to do with.
Well, the first question, I want St. Brown on all my teams.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he's going to have another tremendous year. And another player that I like that you could get a little bit later is Terry McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
But the players that I don't want on my team, and he's going probably 10th round or so, Xavier Worthy, I just can't.
You just can't get there.
Yeah.
No, and another player, I don't know if I'm not that high on. He's getting drafted a little sooner. I'm not that big of a fan of R.J. Harvey. But St. Brown, I want on all my teams. And he's usually going towards the end of the first round. Player I don't really want on any teams is Worthy.
Now, if you go out and get that St. Brown on all your teams, you're out of the Bowers business, which after tonight's show, we think
at
least one team.
I know in the FFPC it's tight end premium, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll just take Tonjes in the 15th round.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
More Tonjes, baby.
Yeah. Brian on the YouTube chat right now, Tom, he threw T. Higgins' name out there. I don't know if you have a strong feeling.
I like T. Higgins. Yeah, I mean, with Burrow throwing it, and he just needs to stay healthy. But yeah, I like T. Higgins.
Mm-hmm. It's hard not to. We just want to keep the Tonjes love going, Balky, and as we are staying positive. I want to ask everybody, especially with receivers, fantasy football this year, draft picks late in the NFL draft could have significant careers and make huge contributions. But there is so much of them. I mean, take Tonjes. There's an undrafted free agent who was cut by the Bears. I don't know what the league was thinking about this player. you know, there's a lot of talent out there that's available, and you know, you don't want to have a redraft team full of rookies, but it gets tempting, but when you get down into those high double-digit rounds.
Higgins has never played 17 games in his NFL career.
Never.
Which and I think people will look at that as a negative, and quite frankly, maybe they should. But when you consider how well he has done and the numbers he's put up, never playing a full season, maybe there is something to be said about T. Higgins on this Bengals offense. Upside through the roof this year. And he is wide receiver 18. He's a mid 4th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, Emeka Egbuka, Zay Flowers territory. You're not having to take him at, like the 2-3 turn or something like that. Or he's not being overdrafted. And
he's going to outcatch all those guys going around him.
Yeah, exactly. And when you consider, like, okay, maybe he misses a couple of games, wouldn't you still want to have that player on your roster for when he's healthy? And I bring this back to the whole Ben Gretsch thing that I've echoed on this show and other shows over the course of the last couple of years. We need to stop asking ourselves the question, what happens if this player gets hurt? We need to start asking ourselves the question, what happens if this player does not get hurt? And
yes, exactly.
Is healthy. My God, hide the women and children because it's going to be good.
Yeah,
okay.
with a healthy Burrow, I mean, they could put up a lot of points.
The worst part of the Bengals offseason, Tom, for me, was them add Dexter Lawrence and Boye Mafe and the safety Brian Cook, and they added another difference maker too in that front seven. I can't remember who it was, but I'm like, no. Don't let this Bengals defense get good. I need him to still give up 30.
Do you know if the Bengals
ball till his arm falls off? That's what I want.
Do you know if the Bengals improved their offensive line at all?
I think they did. I'm going to look this up right now. But I thought they did both in free agency and the draft. Mm-hmm. I know they've tried to do this before and they haven't pulled it off. They added Connor Lew, a center from Auburn in the 4th round. They added the versatile Brian Parker II, an offensive tackle, but could play up and down the line. He's out of Duke. They added him in the 6th round. So, and I have to look up free agency, but I know that they did attack the offensive line in the draft. Granted, on day 3, but I think both those prospects are something that we need.
That's good news then.
Yeah. It's always good news when we get a chance to talk to our friend Tom Smith. Connect with him on the X at FinsFan13, a guy who won $75K in RT. And, oh, by the way, a few years before that, won another $10K. He's already got 3 FFPC titles to his name, numerous KFFSC titles to his name as well. A guy I love drafting against and with in Kentucky. And, Tom, I look forward to seeing you again in Louisville come August. And we'll catch up then. Thank you so much for hopping on the show tonight, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy drafting season. We'll talk again soon.
Oh, thank you, guys. Had a blast. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely.
See you guys soon.
You got it. Tom Smith, ladies and gentlemen. FinsFan13 on the X. Great guy to talk to. I learned a lot from him in that Uber ride that we shared back to the airport. Was very enjoyable. And honestly, he's a guy that, you never like to see him in your draft table because he's good, but man, is he fun to draft next to. Conversations and just hanging out. General, it's why we draft live, Ferrell. It's why
the first year he got here, he did very, very well. That's one of the things, and he's been a great support. He flies all the way across the country to get here. Well, and he does. Yeah, he has to get back to work on the Monday morning, and it's well appreciated.
We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, for watching this tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I will encourage you to go to KFFSC.com. Join some of the leagues I've joined in. The Best Ball Championship. I'm in. I just joined in the Daryl LaMonica division there.
Good job, buddy.
That's going to fill up soon if you want to compete against me. I have to look up who else is in it, but I'm sure it's a who's who of Kentucky, as many of these drafts are. But it is so much fun. I'm knee deep into the Vontae Mack draft right now, which I'm enjoying. And of course, main events going on. 3 live main event weekends this year. Ashland, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky as well, not necessarily in that order, but they start in August, Ferrell. KFFSC.com. They, and you, I should say, have a draft opening and a league for who's ever checking it out. There's something there for you.
Yes, sir. And we'd love to have you. And with this plans, our 25th anniversary ball game. And this plans to be one of perhaps the best one ever.
I hope it is, but it's a high bar to jump over because every single time I go out there, it's always the best one ever. Ferrell, we will talk with you on Friday for extra reps. Be good, enjoy your Wednesday evening, and have fun, man. We'll talk with
Who's our guest on Friday?
Oh, I should reveal that right now, ladies and gentlemen. He is a winner of, I don't know, dozens of FFPC and KFFSC leagues. He won both a high society and a big payback in the FFPC last year. Those are $10,000 and $5,000 just to enter. He won 2 of them. The Fantasy Sopranos head man, Steve Yorgalos, is going to join us on Friday night for extra reps. That's going to be a blast. And I know he's loaded for bear. He's very excited about it. We are too. Ferrell, until then, have a good one, man. That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. And that is going to do it for our show tonight. I want to remind everybody that you can check out the FFPC Big Gorilla right now. $1 million grand prize, $350 entry. The 7 Bananas early Rampage promos going on right now. The Baby Gorilla, just $125 to enter, and you can win $100,000 there. The FFPC Best Ball Tournament and Superflex Best Ball Tournament are both live. Best Ball Tournament has a $400,000 grand prize this year. That's up from $300K last year. We added $100,000 onto that. And the runner-up is also getting paid off with a 6-figure grand prize, a 6-figure runner-up prize. So you don't even have to win it to win 100K. The FFPC Dynasty and Empire Startups also live at myffpc.com. The main event features a $1 million grand prize. You can play in the slow drafts we have going on right now. Get in before May 31st so you can save $200 off your first team and be entered into the Pros versus Joes drawing, which is going to give the lucky winners the chance to draft for 7 free FFPC Main Event 2027 teams. And, of course, Chop Leagues now available at myffpc.com. What's the idea? Just don't be the lowest scoring team in your league on any given week, and you'll win the whole thing. Cash prizes, main event entries, Big Gorilla entries, all available there, myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. I already mentioned Steve Yorgalos coming on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow night, Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we will go live with FFPC Insider Access, and I welcome back onto the show Brandon Murchison from Rotoballer for 2 full hours. He's been working on a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff with Rotoballer. We'll get into some schedule analysis, who you need to be targeting in your best ball drafts now that we know what the schedule looks like. The Roto superstar himself joins me 7 o'clock tomorrow night on FFPC Insider Access. Thank you so much for watching. For Tom Smith, for Ferrell Elliott, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. As our friend Vince Staffolino reminds us, you are officially over the hump now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Too, if you are looking for some action, we have a midnight draft in the Big Gorilla. Yeah, we're offering midnight drafts in May because they're filling. So check it out. It's already half full, well, almost half full. We got 7 spots available. That draft is going to go off in a little bit less than an hour, so you can draft for $1 million right now at myffpc.com with the Big Gorilla Tournament. You're automatically entered in the early Rampage, which still has teams filling up. So 1 entry fee, 2 tournaments, 2 grand prizes. How can you go wrong? Register now, myffpc.com. Talk with you Thursday night, everybody. Thanks for watching.